Yeah, I mean, I know that we were suspects. I didn't know they were camps, I guess.
And these are...
What if the most infamous child murder in America wasn't just a mystery, but a massive misunderstanding? For nearly 30 years, JonBenet Ramsey's name has haunted headlines, her story twisted into tabloid frenzy, her family cast as suspects in their own nightmare. Over 28 years ago, the brutal murder of 6-year-old beauty queen JonBenet Ramsey shocked the world and captivated public attention in ways few cases ever have. Despite decades of investigation, countless theories, and intense media scrutiny, the case has remained unsolved until now, perhaps. With groundbreaking advancements in DNA technology, law enforcement and forensic experts are inching closer to answers, and the latest developments may finally unravel the mystery that has haunted a nation. Unfortunately, what has been uncovered so far doesn't offer the closure many hope for, but it brings us closer to the truth. To fully understand the significance of the recent progress, it's crucial to revisit the tragedy from the beginning. On December 26, 1996, the Ramsey family's Christmas turned into a nightmare when John and Patsy Ramsey reported their daughter JonBenet missing from their Boulder, Colorado home. A 3-page ransom note had been found by Patsy on a staircase, demanding $118,000, the exact amount of John Ramsey's recent bonus. Despite an apparent kidnapping scenario, JonBenet's body was discovered hours later in the basement by her own father, strangled with a garrote made from a paintbrush and nylon cord, and with a fractured skull, revealing a much darker, more twisted crime than initially imagined. For years, the public, media, and police zeroed in on John, Patsy, and even their 9-year-old son, Burke Ramsey, as suspects. The media frenzy surrounding the case painted the family as likely perpetrators, ignoring other possibilities. But in 2003, a significant shift occurred. Mixed male DNA was found on JonBenet's underwear that did not match any family member. This DNA was entered into the FBI's CODIS database, and although it yielded no immediate matches, it cast serious doubt on the theory that a family member had been responsible. By 2008, Boulder's district attorney publicly exonerated the Ramseys, supported by new DNA evidence that revealed unknown male DNA not only on JonBenet's clothing, but also on a garrote and a blanket. This provided new hope that an intruder may have been responsible. While investigators had made numerous missteps early in the case, modern forensic tools, especially forensic genetic genealogy, offered new potential to identify the killer. This technique, which helped solve the Golden State Killer case in 2018, combines crime scene DNA with consumer genealogy databases to trace family lines and ultimately identify suspects. JonBenet's father, John Ramsey, has remained vocal in advocating for the use of these technologies. He has urged law enforcement to retest key pieces of evidence, such as a garrote, ransom note, flashlight, and underwear, using state-of-the-art laboratories. In January 2025, John met with Boulder Police Chief Stephen Redfern and a genetic genealogy expert for a 90-minute discussion about implementing modern DNA testing protocols. Encouragingly, Chief Redfern and his team expressed a willingness to collaborate with the FBI and external labs, signaling a renewed commitment to solving the case. John Ramsey has emphasized that authorities already possess enough DNA evidence to potentially solve the murder if they fully embrace forensic genealogy. He noted that with a 60 to 70% probability of identifying a suspect using current methods, action must be taken now. However, long-standing concerns about contamination of the crime scene have made investigators hesitant. Still, recent leadership changes and public pressure, fueled by documentaries and media interest, have pushed for reinvigorated testing. JonBenet's older half-brother, John Andrew Ramsey, has also been at the forefront of this push. Speaking in interviews and documentaries, he's provided insight into the family's trauma and perseverance. From losing their sister Beth in a car crash to watching their mother Patsy succumb to cancer in 2006, the Ramseys have endured overwhelming grief. John Andrew lamented how the family, already victims, were further victimized by those meant to protect them, pointing to law enforcement's failure to pursue other leads in favor of their tunnel vision on the family. Despite their heartbreak, the family remained united. Burke Ramsey, who had stayed out of the public eye for years, finally broke his silence in a 2016 Dr. Phil interview. At age 9 during the murder, Burke was interrogated repeatedly, and his awkward demeanor, smiling at inappropriate times, was misinterpreted as guilt. Burke explained these smiles as nervous reactions. He strongly denied any involvement in his sister's death and proposed his own theory that an unknown intruder, possibly someone obsessed with beauty pageants or with predatory intentions, had broken into the house and committed the crime. This theory gained traction in part due to new details revealed over the years. Investigators have found an open basement window, scuff marks on the wall beneath it, and a suitcase positioned directly under the opening, possibly used as a step. Leaves and debris were found inside, indicating that someone may have entered through the window. A boot print near JonBenet's body didn't match any Ramsey family member, further supporting the intruder theory. The crime scene had yielded even more troubling evidence. A garrote fashioned from one of Patsy's paintbrushes had been used in the murder, and JonBenet had crude ligatures around her wrists. Duct tape on her mouth came from an unusual source, and a palm print was discovered on the wine cellar door. DNA evidence, not linked to any family member, was found under JonBenet's fingernails, on her underwear, and on other items of clothing. Yet despite this wealth of DNA evidence, the case remained unsolved due to the early mishandling of evidence and fixation on the Ramseys. One of the most confounding aspects of the case was the ransom note, written using a pen and paper from inside the Ramsey home. It was lengthy, bizarrely theatrical, and filled with movie references, quoting films like Dirty Harry and Speed. It demanded the exact amount of John Ramsey's recent bonus, leading some to believe it was an inside job. Others speculated that it was a staged misdirection. Private investigators later proposed that cryptic elements of the note, like the abbreviation SBTC, could be tied to academic jargon or local institutions, possibly pointing to a University of Colorado student. Despite handwriting experts debating the note's origin, some linking it to Patsy, others claiming it was written by an impersonator, it has remained a deeply debated and unresolved clue. Linguistic analysis found the phrasing inconsistent with real kidnappers. This note, like much of the early evidence, was poorly preserved and has yet to be subjected to modern forensic techniques that could unlock new leads. CBS reignited controversy in 2016 with the documentary The Case of JonBenet Ramsey, which concluded that Burke Ramsey had accidentally killed his sister during an argument over a bowl of pineapple, a claim based on his fingerprints being found on a bowl and teacup. The documentary alleged that the family staged a cover-up. In response, Burke filed a defamation lawsuit against CBS and forensic expert Dr. Werner Spitz, eventually reaching a confidential settlement. Burke remains adamant that these claims are false, and has consistently stated that he believes an outside intruder is responsible. Throughout the years, the case has become a media circus. Talk shows, tabloids, and cable news exploited the tragedy for ratings. In 1997, Geraldo Rivera hosted a televised mock trial that essentially convicted the parents without any legal authority. Rivera would later apologize, but the damage was done. Media sensationalism spread misinformation, exaggerated theories, and vilified the Ramseys in the public eye. Many experts have since criticized this coverage, calling it a public lynching and an erosion of the presumption of innocence. Nonetheless, the Ramsey family has carried on. John Ramsey continues to advocate for justice, having remarried and split his time between Michigan and Utah. He remains hopeful that DNA technology will solve his daughter's case. Burke Ramsey has stayed mostly out of the spotlight, working as a software engineer in Michigan and living a private life with his wife. John Andrew remains the family's most vocal representative, actively speaking in interviews, promoting forensic genealogy, and demanding accountability from the Boulder Police Department. Despite early investigative failures, the police now seem more willing than ever to collaborate with experts and utilize a vast trove of untested DNA evidence. New police leadership has brought in outside labs and experts, and they're taking fresh steps to re-examine critical crime scene items that were either never tested or handled with outdated methods. These include the garrote, flashlight, rope, and clothing, which may now provide definitive answers. The lingering hope is that this renewed approach will finally deliver justice. With over 1,600 people considered persons of interest, ranging from local criminals to pageant connections, investigators have no shortage of possible suspects. But now, With forensic genealogy, they may be able to trace the unknown male DNA found at the scene to relatives and identify the killer. Ultimately, the story of JonBenet Ramsey is not just a true crime mystery. It's a tragic reflection of how flawed investigations, media sensationalism, and tunnel vision can derail justice. It's a case that forced a grieving family to live under suspicion for decades. But with science on their side and the support of the public, the Ramsey family may finally see the resolution they fought for all these years. As of now, the Ramsey family is adamant. The evidence exists and it's time to act. The case of JonBenet Ramsey may be close to finally being solved. Not because of sensational theories, but because science has caught up to the truth. Although the investigation into JonBenet Ramsey's murder was plagued with mistakes, misdirection, and overwhelming media scrutiny, the hope that justice will finally be served now seems stronger than ever. The combination of forensic science advancements, the persistence of JonBenet's family, and renewed public interest have positioned the case on the brink of a potential resolution. The original investigation was hampered by severe mishandling of the crime scene. When Boulder police responded to the Ramsey home on the morning of December 26, 1996, only JonBenet's bedroom was secured. Family members, friends, and even investigators were allowed to move freely through the house, leading to the contamination of evidence. Her body was discovered by her father several hours after the 911 call, and instead of preserving the scene, he carried her upstairs, further disturbing vital forensic clues. Police never fully sealed the house, failed to utilize crime scene dogs initially, and overlooked the basement during their first sweep, where JonBenet had been hidden all along. These early errors critically derailed the integrity of the investigation. Alongside these issues, the infamous ransom note found on the staircase added more layers of confusion. Written on a pad from inside the home with a pen that belonged to the Ramseys, it was lengthy and dramatic, an unusual characteristic for real-life ransom notes. The note demanded exactly $118,000, the precise figure John Ramsey's recent bonus, and contained odd movie references from films like Dirty Harry and Speed. Experts questioned its authenticity and speculated it might have been a deliberate misdirection. Over the years, linguistic and handwriting analysts have debated its origin. Some early claims suggested Patsy Ramsey might have written it, while others believe it was a calculated attempt by an intruder to confuse investigators or someone trying to disguise their identity. Utah-based private investigator Jason Jensen introduced an interesting theory that the signature SBDC could be academic shorthand possibly linked to a student from the University of Colorado Boulder, reinforcing the intruder theory. Despite these and other promising leads, the investigation for years remained narrowly focused on the family, mainly due to the note's contents, lack of forced entry, and how JonBenet's body was found inside the home. This tunnel vision caused police to neglect alternative explanations, including the possibility of a home invader with a personal connection to the family or to JonBenet's beauty pageant appearances. Investigators didn't act on key physical clues found around the home that suggested another person's presence. For instance, a basement window was open, with scuff marks underneath, and debris consistent with outside elements found inside the room. There was even a suitcase positioned under the window, perhaps placed there by someone trying to enter or exit through that opening. A high-tech boot print near JonBenet's body didn't match any family member, and several pieces of trace evidence such as unknown fibers, a palm print on a wine cellar door, and unidentified male DNA under her fingernails and on her underwear were never fully analyzed with modern technology until much later. The public and media, too, played a role in shaping a narrative that placed the Ramsey family at the center of the crime. From the outset, they were vilified in newspapers, tabloids, and TV specials. Television personalities such as Geraldo Rivera staged mock trials, essentially convicting the parents without due process. Tabloids ran wild with rumors that Patsy Ramsey was an overbearing pageant mother, or that John Ramsey had inappropriate relationships, all of which were disproven. The real damage, however, was done to the public's perception of the case, which was transformed from a criminal investigation into a media circus. Burke Ramsey, only 9 at the time of his sister's death, was thrust into the spotlight and years later was targeted by the CBS docuseries The Case of JonBenet Ramsey, which alleged he accidentally killed his sister over a petty dispute. CBS experts theorized Burke struck her with a flashlight and that his parents staged the scene to protect him. Despite the show's dramatization, the theory was weakly supported, and Burke's subsequent defamation lawsuit against CBS led to a confidential settlement. In a rare interview with Dr. Phil, Burke dismissed these claims, stating firmly that he didn't hurt his sister, and that the idea he did so was completely false. He explained that his nervous smile during police interrogations had been misinterpreted, and that it was a reaction to stress and confusion. After years of suspicion and media-driven allegations, the tide turned in 2008 when new DNA analysis identified an unknown male profile on multiple items of JonBenet's clothing. This evidence conclusively ruled out the Ramseys and led to their public exoneration by Boulder District Attorney Mary Lacey. She emphasized that they had been wrongly accused and that investigators had overlooked significant clues pointing away from the family. From then on, the focus shifted toward identifying the source of the male DNA. But limitations in forensic technology at the time stalled further progress. However, recent advances in forensic genetic genealogy, used successfully to identify the Golden State Killer in 2018, have reopened possibilities. This method cross-references DNA evidence with genetic data from public genealogy databases to locate relatives of potential suspects. It's now seen as the most promising tool in finally resolving the case. John Ramsey has long advocated for retesting evidence using the most advanced technologies available. Items like the ransom note, JonBenet's underwear, the garrote, flashlight, rope, and other trace materials may still hold crucial genetic markers that could be used for genealogical profiling. In January 2025, he met with Boulder Police Chief Stephen Redfern and a genetic genealogy expert to discuss applying these cutting-edge techniques. According to the Ramsey family, the police have all the necessary tools and evidence. They simply need the will and resources to act decisively. John Andrew Ramsey, JonBenet's half-brother, has also taken on a public role, speaking in documentaries and interviews. He has expressed confidence that with the right focus, modern science can deliver the truth. Both he and his father insist that if authorities allow private labs and FBI experts to re-examine the DNA, the case can be solved. One of the enduring elements of the mystery has been the volume of physical evidence left at the crime scene, more than usually expected in such a case. Multiple DNA traces of a male individual were found on JonBenet's underwear, Long John's garrote, and wrist cords. Yet the person connected to that DNA has never been identified. A latex glove was found in the nearby trash, and Christmas garland fibers were entangled in her hair. The duct tape on her mouth didn't match any found in the home, suggesting it was brought in by the perpetrator. Taken together, this paints a compelling picture of an outside intruder who came prepared, subdued the victim, and left behind enough evidence to identify them. Evidence that may finally yield a name with advanced forensic techniques. Meanwhile, the Ramsey family has tried to move forward with their lives. John Ramsey, now in his 80s, splits his time between Michigan and Utah. After Patsy Ramsey's death from cancer in 2006, he remarried and continues to advocate for justice. Burke Ramsey earned a degree in information technology from Purdue University and now works privately as a software engineer. He keeps a low profile and rarely speaks publicly, but has voiced his support for renewed DNA testing. John Andrew remains a visible figure in pushing for transparency and investigative progress, insisting the evidence already available holds the key to solving the case. As of 2025, Boulder police have expressed renewed willingness to collaborate with external experts and agencies like the FBI. Under new leadership and with mounting public interest reignited by recent documentaries and media coverage, momentum appears to be building. The Ramseys hope that the remaining items of evidence will be reanalyzed with genealogy-focused labs, as this could lead to a 60 to 70% likelihood of identifying a familial match and narrowing in on the killer. Despite past missteps, the investigation is at a turning point. If the DNA profiles are successfully matched to a relative in public databases, investigators may be able to reverse engineer a suspect profile using family trees, a method that has cracked decades-old cold cases. The tragedy of JonBenet Ramsey's death has never been just about one child's murder. It became symbolic of a justice system derailed by sensationalism, police missteps, and media bias. But it's also a story of perseverance. For nearly 3 decades, her family has lived under a cloud of suspicion, publicly exonerated yet always associated with the case. Through tireless advocacy, legal actions, and demand for justice, they refuse to give up. And now, as the pieces finally begin falling into place with the help of modern DNA technology, their hope is that the truth will not only exonerate them once and for all in the public eye, but will finally bring accountability and peace. Justice for JonBenet may still be within reach. For decades, JonBenet Ramsey's story was reduced to rumors and suspicion, a media storm that obscured the facts and shattered a family. But beneath the noise lies a trail of evidence, long ignored, that could still rewrite everything. This isn't just about solving a cold case. It's about reclaiming a stolen childhood, clearing a family's name, and exposing how easily justice can be derailed by a good headline. If this story moved you, let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're drawn to true stories with twists the world almost missed, hit that subscribe button.